Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. Today, we're reviewing Avatar: The Way of Water. So, Avatar: The Way of Water is obviously the sequel to the wildly successful 2009 film, and it had a lot of big shoes to fill in this one. I do think James Cameron did an excellent job, and I do think this movie improves on the first film in almost every way possible. It still suffers from a pretty weak plot like the first movie. In this one, we see Jake Sully and his family still living on Pandora, and then you see the humans return. They are coming back with vengeance to take out Jake Sully and his family, and they have to escape out to the Water Kingdom. And you kind of see that integration of the two cultures, but at its core, it really is a revenge movie, and then also kind of the same themes of conservation and kind of humans against nature, like we saw in the first film. Stephen Lang returns as the villain in this film again, but it's a little different because what they decided to do is say that they uploaded his memory and all of his experience into an avatar before he was killed. This movie does have a little bit of kind of rewriting the other movie, kind of throwing in some characters and some plot lines that we didn't see in the first movie that were kind of going on in the background. It is a little lazy in my opinion, but I do think, like I said, no one goes into these movies expecting an incredible plot line. They're there for the visuals, for the action, and it really delivers on those things. It's an incredibly impressive film on a technical level. When I went back into it, I felt like I jumped right back into this immersive world that feels like every little detail is thought out, and it just looks so genuine at the world building. It just sucks you in. People get obsessed with this world. I remember when the first movie came out, people were like obsessed with going to Pandora. They thought it was the greatest thing on earth. And I felt like that again when this movie started, whether it's the score or the overall foliage, the creatures, the atmosphere, everything comes together to create such an engrossing film that you feel really sucked into it when you watch it. I know that James Cameron waited a while to make this movie so he could do all the technical things that he wanted to do, so that the technology was there to do, especially the water effects. And it was worth the wait, in my opinion. I've never seen a film that looks this good. I've never seen water effects that are anywhere close to a movie like this. Even the facial expressions I think are perfected. You feels like when you're watching it that you're not watching a computer generated movie because it looks so good and looks so seamless that I mean, that's the best compliment you can give for a movie like this. Zoe Saldana comes back as Neytiri in this one, and I think she gives probably the standout performance. She doesn't have the most screen time in the world of all the characters, but she makes the most of it. And like I said, those facial expressions, when you see the pain, the suffering, the anger in her face in this movie, you really feel it. And you feel it through this computer generated character, which is just so interesting. Like, I feel like when I watch a computer generated character, for the most part, it takes me away from it. It kind of separates me from the film because I know this isn't a real person. This is a made up thing. But in this movie, it looks so genuine that you just really connect with the characters in a way that you wouldn't in most animated films like this. And I feel like the themes of family are so well done in this movie because in this one, we see Jake Sully having multiple children. He also has kind of an adopted child, and that connection is something that kind of moves the movie forward. You feel the stakes because you want to really root for this family unit. You feel their passion and their love for one another. And I think that's something that was a little lacking in the first movie. The first movie, in many ways, people say it is kind of like Pocahontas, and it really is. It is really about this love story and the idea of the humans trying to destroy this planet and the idea of accepting, the native culture and things like that. This movie really does hone in on those aspects, but also the family bond is really powerful. And obviously, it does reiterate this environmental theme that we saw from the first film, and I think it hits really hard in this one. There's a storyline involving these whale creatures and how the humans are trying to kill them to extract something from them, and they don't understand the connection between the native people and these creatures. And it is really gut wrenching. There's some really emotional moments in this movie. Maybe I'm a little sappy and I love Avatar, but there were some really impactful moments with some loss of some characters and some creatures, and just not to go any spoilers, but I think those moments hit pretty hard emotionally. Speaking of impact, this movie has some brutal action. There's a ton of action in this movie, particularly in the first and the third act. The third act is almost one nonstop battle scene that I think is so well choreographed and generated visually that you just feel just this constant going and going and going. And maybe for some people that may be a little overbearing. This movie is over 3 hours long, and almost no movie in the world needs to be that long, and you do feel it. I'm not going to pretend like it isn't a long movie, and there were moments, particularly in the middle third, where I felt like we're just seeing a lot of visuals for the sake of visuals. And while it looks impressive and I loved it seeing it on the big screen, it would be hard to revisit it just because of that. There are some characters in this film that get incomplete arcs because it's obviously setting up more and more films. At its end does feel a little unresolved, so that is a little bit of a knock as far as the story, but knowing that there's going to be multiple films, I kind of expected that, but it dives into some of these characters and never really fully explains what's going on with them. So some of their decisions are a little strange. And the movie does have kind of that stereotypical thing where the kids make bad decisions. The kids continually kind of put themselves in a bad situation, put everybody in a bad situation. But if everybody always made smart decisions in movies, it would be kind of hard to have any conflicts. So I can't fully knock it for that, but it is a little frustrating, particularly with the one younger son who never seems to learn his lesson and just keeps getting everyone in trouble over and over and over again. There's a human character that has a really important storyline that's kind of brought in this movie, and I don't really know if he was in the first movie. If he was, it's in passing, and I don't really remember it. He felt like he was kind of made up as a plot device for this movie, but I do think it moves the story forward and it makes our villain more interesting. He doesn't seem like just a bad guy that's just doing bad things for the sake of being bad. It feels like there's actually kind of more of a connection with him and kind of understanding his psyche. So I think that elevated him as a villain in many ways. But all in all, I really enjoyed Avatar The Way of Water. I would give it an 8 out of 10. The thing that holds it back from being a truly exceptional movie is those plot points and just not being a really well thought out plot line. Maybe we'll see this thread continue out into more movies and I'll understand it and appreciate it a little bit more, but it does suffer from those plot issues of the first film. Visually, it is just so impressive. It is such a spectacle that I can't help but enjoy watching it. So if you check out Avatar The Way of Water, let me know what you thought about it. Leave those comments down below. How does it compare to the first film for you? Are you excited for all these movies he has planned moving forward? So again, thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. See you guys next time.